Okay, so around a month ago I was sent the Philips Saeco the Intelia fully automatic espresso machine, and today I'm just going to show you how I use it, because now that I've had it for about 3 weeks I've got my head around it and I feel like it's probably time for me to review it. The first thing that I'll say about the Philips Saeco the Intelia is that it's very easy to use. When it comes on, you see this little light here, and that shows you exactly how it's set up. And I'll preface this by saying that it's really important that this machine is set up the way that you want it to work. So if you look at this button here, you can use ground coffee or you can use beans. And if you want the machine to tamp just a little bit of beans, use 1 bean, 2 for a medium sort of strength, I guess, and 3 if you want it really strong, or what I would call normal. These 2 buttons are programmable. The idea is that this button is for 1 coffee and this button is for 2 coffees. I've found that I usually just use the button for 1 coffee one at a time, because I've found that that gets a better result. This button is for water, for tea, or steaming milk. And so you'll see that when you press it, it gives you the option of steaming or coffee or tea. And if you want to steam, you just go to this side. So when you first set up this machine, this is the top of the machine, obviously, and there are 2 ways that you can use coffee. So this part comes off, and you pour beans in here if you want to use beans. And if you want to use pre-ground coffee, you put it in here. Don't pour pre-ground coffee in here because that could break the grinder. And the grinder is actually adjustable, which is probably my favorite feature of the machine. And I'll just zoom in because you probably won't be able to see, but there's this little doodad here. It's no good. And it has little dots that go around in a circle. So basically you can turn this, and all the way to the left is coarse and all the way to the right is fine. They provide you with this little dealie, and it's kind of like a, well, I don't know, tools, so it's some kind of tool, and you push it down and click it 1 click. That will make it 1 click coarser, and again. I have it all the way to the finest setting, because I found that even at the finest setting, the coffee doesn't come through quite slow enough for me. Let me just check that that is the finest. And one of the good things about this is that, well, in theory at least, you could leave some coffee in the top of the machine and it wouldn't go too stale, because this is actually sealed, rubber sealed, so it's not vacuum sealed, but it's the next best thing. So now, let's do some coffee. So I'm going to show you how to make coffee with both ground coffee and beans. This machine is only as good as the beans that you put into it, so I would say that if you can't get freshly roasted beans, then don't buy this machine. It doesn't hold up well to old beans, because the beans that I was given with the machine made terrible coffee. And if I hadn't gone out and bought some freshly roasted beans, I don't think it would have been drinkable black coffee especially. Okay, so as I said before, I like to use the single coffee shot just because I think it makes a better coffee for me. So just pour in some beans. This thing is actually adjustable too, if you want to push it up for some reason. Big cup, small cup. Okay, so press the small coffee button. And runs the shot, hopefully. This isn't the freshest, these aren't the freshest coffee beans, but it's run quite a good shot, I'd say. Now, as I showed you before, if you want to use ground coffee, you've got to make sure that it's set to the scoop setting. It's a little bit fiddly. I would, or should, probably use a teaspoon for this. Yeah, definitely. That's coming out nice and slow. I'd say that's better than the beans, but the beans and the ground coffee aren't comparable in this case because that coffee was ground about 2 hours ago and those beans were probably roasted about a month ago. So, but I think it shows you can get a good coffee out of this machine. So when I first got this machine, it actually came with what they call a cappuccinatore, which basically is an automatic milk frother, which a lot of machines will have, and you'll probably be semi-familiar with this. You press this button and it says, would you like to froth, would you like to tea? I'd like to froth. It starts. You notice also it doesn't make much noise, it's pretty sweet, and it does that. And you want to stop, that's probably enough. It takes a little bit of time to stop, so you might want to stop it before you actually want to stop it, if that makes sense. I don't know if you can see, but the froth isn't great. It's a bit bubbly, there's quite a bit of large bubbles in there, so it doesn't actually do a very good job, or at least it doesn't do the kind of job that I would want. You can just pull that off, because if you want to froth milk, you can just do it manually, which I didn't know when I got this machine because I didn't read the instruction manual. So in contrast to the other milk, which had quite a lot of bubbles, you'll see that this one is quite smooth. So you've got a much better texture if you do it manually. You can see, I didn't no latte out there, but it does do quite good froth. Let's see if we can get a decent mac. One thing I don't like about this machine is the plastic casing. I know it's only a tiny thing, but it does make it feel flimsy. It's especially noticeable when you pull out this coffee ground bin, because sometimes when you put it back in, it doesn't quite slide in. But it is pretty awesome in that you don't get any mess because the coffee grounds just look after themselves. And whenever the bin is full, you get a little icon which tells you to empty it. And that's the same with the water tray, which actually tells you it's empty a while before it is actually empty, and you can't use the machine until you've refilled it. But what I do like about it is what tends to happen is this gets full at the same time as this gets empty, so you can just pull it out, fill, empty, and it's all good. When this red button is up, it means it's full, but it's actually fills up incredibly fast, which is actually kind of a pain. So it goes under the whole machine, catches every drip, but as you can see, it gets pretty damn full, and when you pour it out, it's kind of not brilliant. So yeah, a bit flimsy. I think this is a coffee machine that, if you wanted to spend $1,000, can be suited to various levels of being comfortable with using a coffee machine. So if you wanted to use it, just pour ground coffee in, use automatic milk, that would be fine. If you wanted to use beans, you could use beans. If you run out of beans, you can use ground coffee. It's very flexible, and that's probably the best thing about it. So overall, I'd probably say that I like this machine, but I wouldn't buy it myself. I wouldn't buy it myself because there isn't really a substitute for tamping the coffee yourself. And tamping the coffee myself is kind of where I draw the line in terms of quality. A lot of thought has gone into this machine. It's very intuitive. I used it for a couple of weeks without reading the instruction manual, and it was fine. It doesn't make as good a coffee as I would want, and with a price tag of $999, you would expect not perfection, but something as good as one of your favorite espresso bars, and it just doesn't hold up that side of things. I don't think it lives up to the prosumer level of coffee machine that I would like to have in my house.